Jesus knew well the audience that he was speaking to. He knew that they would understand parables about vineyards, about grain fields, about fishing. He knew his audience. Today, as we hear this gospel reading in this parable, it may seem hard for us to understand when there are so many people looking for work that there are 1,000 applicants per job. What's really going on in the story? And while this story deals with the end times, I'd like you to think about agriculture for a moment. It doesn't end with a harvest. It doesn't begin with the harvest. It starts with the plowing of the field. This is hard labor. The plowing, the seeding, the weeding, the cultivating throughout the growing season, making sure that there's water, making sure that nothing destroys the crop. All of this goes along prior to the harvest. The harvest, perhaps, is the easiest part of the job. And I think for we Christians, born into Christianity today, having 2,000 years of a Christian heritage behind us, that we don't understand all the time all the work that led up to this point. We don't necessarily get everyone that did that plowing, planting of the seeds, nurturing of those seeds, until it is indeed harvest time. And laborers are needed not just for the harvest, but to also continue on some of this other work. This other work is what you and I are called to do on a daily basis. You see, it is just not the responsibility of the clergy to be the workers. It is for each of us to take up whatever task it is that God gives to us in this process. So, for some of us, it's plowing through things. It's trying to dig up the soil, to manure it, to get it ready so that the people that we encounter, that when we start talking to them about God's love, that seed can be planted. It is for still others to nurture people along the way, to encourage them to grow, to continue cultivating that faith community until it is indeed time for the harvest. What we hear today can apply to some of us that were cradle Catholics. We've heard the stories all of our lives. And so when it comes to that last moment and when we are reaped into paradise, we get our reward. But there are people that come to faith not from the cradle, but they come later in life. And it's still, they receive that same reward from the Lord, that gift of eternal life. But this gospel calls us to be workers, not just for the harvest, but throughout our lives, to be doing that which needs to be done to bring others to that point where that when the Lord calls them home, when he calls them to paradise, that they are ready. In that way, we're just not workers for Christ. For those of us that were born to Christianity, perhaps it'd be best to look at us as not just workers, but we are slaves to Christ's message. That you and I, who have embraced Jesus, look at him totally as our master, should let all segments of our lives be ruled by Christ. And in letting Christ rule through our hearts, he uses our hands, our feet, our mouths, our eyes, our every moment to reach out to others so that they too may experience that love that we've known since childhood.